episode 15, right? Hello and welcome to Taking Liberties episode 15 for the 2015 season. My name is Vickers, and today we have joining us Zeev in Melbourne,
Good day.
Lee in Perth,
Hello.
and Tim in Melbourne as well, actually. I should have mentioned both of you at the same time.
Well, Ballarat, to be precise.
Yeah. I'm actually in
Oh.
Busselton as well, which is like 300k south, which you'll learn next week when you come to Western Australia.
That is a good point, actually. I forgot to mention I will be in West Australia next week, or as I've been told, Best Australia.
It is. It really is.
Most likely to secede.
Yeah.
I would have said most likely to be North Korea with the name like that. Anyway, I digress. So, everybody for the last week has been talking about basically Zaky Mallah. Now, for anyone who's not familiar with this, he was the first person who was tried under the terrorism laws that the Howard government brought in 2004. The courts kind of... So the counter-terrorism laws that were used against him didn't actually pan out, and the only thing he sort of pled guilty to was threatening, I think it was
ASIO
ASIO stuff?
Yep.
To kill an ASIO agent.
Was it
Which
just
might-
an ASIO agent or a specific...
Mind you, yeah, it's a little more complex than that, because what happened was there was an undercover ASIO agent / journalist, right? And what happened was this undercover agent became concerned about how this gentleman was talking to journalists and generally making a fool of himself, and so he's approached him, and kind of there's an element of entrapment there where you're kind of wondering whether he's encouraging him to make those threats in the first place. And second of all, he's not making the threats publicly, he's making the threats to the journalist privately rather than to the world as such. So is
he's
he
a blowhard.
But I mean,
So he's a blowhard.
what he's charged with is...
There's a case for him being a blowhard, which he certainly put in court, and that's basically more. You could probably more or less why he was acquitted on the terrorism offences. And mind you, he pleaded guilty for threatening officials, but he pleaded not guilty to the terrorism offences, and he ran this defence, and that's why he more or less why he got acquitted on those offences. So yeah, there's certainly.
I think I agree with the court. It's a blowhard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, what he was charged with and what he was convicted of is kind of secondary issue to...
Well, no. I think it matters a fair bit, because I don't think being a jerk qualifies you for being as a terrorist. Right?
Well,
Well,
look, the thing is, if you read this, I mean,
He's not a
he
kid,
had prepared, even before he
sorry.
was questioned, he had prepared apparently a will. He had bought an automatic a weapon of some nature, a gun or something. It's not as if he wasn't planning anything, but on the other hand, it's like a murky in-between zone, if you will. Maybe he was going to do something, or maybe he was just a blowhard, but sometimes blowhards can become something more. Anyway.
I mean, even if he was a terrorist...
Sorry.
That's the thing.
Can we just...
Sorry?
He's not innocent. Let's get that clear.
Yeah, he's not
He's
he's
in the
not
middle
pure
ground.
as driven snow. Like
No.
he's not a
No,
he's
I
not a
wouldn't say
nice
that
person.
at
He's
all.
so the whole thing is basically the Q&A program, which if you're an international viewer is a weekly panel show on the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, a government
hang on.
funded.
Think CNN Crossfire, except it hasn't been cancelled yet.
Yeah. So basically, they have a panel of people who answer questions from the audience. Or sometimes they do video questions, and they essentially invited this person. Well, this person was put as the final question of last Monday's episode.
It was,
And
it was a gotcha that they planned. They
Yeah.
planned to. They betted on the minister not knowing who he was.
Yeah.
Sorry, not the minister, the parliamentary secretary, Steve Chobo. And so they attempted to catch him out and say, are you going to look this person in the eye and say, but luckily Steve Chobo did know the case, and he
Well, he didn't,
stood
actually.
his ground.
He
No.
didn't actually know the case because he thought that the only reason he wasn't convicted of terrorism offences was because it was retrospective legislation. But
But
that's
he was, but
wrong.
he was correct. He
It
did
wasn't.
know that he had been convicted of threatening to kill an ASIO officer. He did know that
That's
much.
well, it's possible. He could quite possible. I
I
think
don't
you're
think
right.
I don't
Yeah.
remember him saying that. He just called him a convicted terrorist.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
that-
think he did say that.
Look,
In any
did say that.
event,
in any event,
yeah,
he said he wouldn't have an issue with deporting him,
Yep.
and
Yes.
that well, really that exposes the whole problem. The man was acquitted of terrorism offences, and the reality is that that acquittal would not have mattered for citizenship purposes if Peter Dutton, for example, could just say, "Well, I suspect him of being a terrorist. I'm
Yeah.
taking away his citizenship."
so that was the issue. So the question was about
But
essentially.
that's not what the new law is. What they've
Actually, no.
decided
Well, that's
on.
what the new law.
The new law does allow for what Steve's talking about. The minister doesn't make the minister makes the determination instead of a court. But I believe there is an avenue for procedural review. Procedural review. would
Some
you-
kind, yes,
Yeah.
you can challenge the decision of the minister.
There's no ministerial discretion anymore. It's if you're fighting with a foreign
Yeah, but
terrorist organization,
essentially
you're
the minister has to
automatically.
be satisfied that that's happening. It's still not a judge and jury.
But there is an avenue for appeal to.
Yeah,
a
there is
judge.
an avenue for appeal to a judge. I'm not sure how strong the appeal rights are there. I certainly don't know about that, but that's another matter. Anyway, the decision to bring him on board Q&A was what sparked all the outcry because we had the Prime Minister asking which side Q&A was on, or the ABC was on, rather.
They're on the side of sensationalism. They're media. That's what they do.
Exactly.
But the reason why this was such a big deal was the fact that it was an example of a pattern of behaviour of the ABC and Q&A in general of setting up these gotchas to conservative politicians or
Yeah.
attacking even because there was the David Hicks question to John Howard, and there was also Julie Gillard got one from Julian Assange, essentially attacking Julie Gillard from the left. So it's part of a Q&A's done this before, but the fact that
What's
also
the
Mallah
problem with
said.
that?
I
What's the
actually
problem?
don't see a problem with that at all. Actually,
No.
like okay, so the thing is, I mean, it's only bad if you think like the ABC is meant to be this impartial sort of, media. Impartial.
thing is
that It
right
is.
watchment media
Well,
source.
the
It's
thing is that
legislative
there's-
got to.
Supposedly it's meant to be.
Who the-
but once
no,
you
no, 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 no,
realise
no,
that
no, no,
that's a
no, no,
total,
no. Yeah. So
Go on.
not only I agree with Steve. It's a crap. So the big thing that people fall into a trap here is when left wingers say independent, right? They don't mean independent in terms of right or left. They mean independent in terms of who's paying for it, right? As in, as long as it's not beholden to who's paying for this organization, it's regarded as independent. Now, yes, obviously, the ABC's as left as frickin' Stalin.
Yeah.
But the point is, as far as left wingers are concerned, that is the definition of independent because they're not bound.
they're
to
not
the-
accountable.
Yeah, they're not accountable.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
And okay, so I mean, I don't have a problem with the sensationalism. Like one of my problems with the Q&A is it's boring. It's incredibly dull. It's a crap show. It shouldn't be on TV. But sorry, let me just finish.
I've sometimes put myself through it, and I said this on Facebook, but I decided to watch the whole episode to see it, and the whole episode was just so bad.
Yeah.
It was basically evil, rich. White men destroying the planet and raping the earth of its precious resources, and who hate the poor and love oppressing them. It was pretty much every lefty generalization on the planet. So
yeah,
the whole.
sorry, I was going to say I was just trying to say, it's when is the last time Q&A actually said it had anything occur on it that was of any note apart from these gotchas? Like, it is a boring show. Nothing ever happens on it apart from these occasional things. Nobody says anything of any interest. I think
I'd
it's
actually-
bad television, but if at least, like,
It's
it
actually
is supposed
quite-
to be, like, the
it's
ABC
actually quite
is
well
supposed to be
watched.
impartial, and it is always attacking people from the left. And so
Well,
my first
the
problem
thing
is
the first thing I'll say to that is, there's no such thing as impartiality.
Sure.
Everyone has their
No.
own interests,
Everyone's
and we
biased.
shouldn't expect the ABC to be
Sure.
independent or impartial or anything
But
else.
There's
They-
there's the old Andrew Bolt thing that it doesn't have any conservative journalists
Oh.
at it, all of the left.
well, look, I mean, this kind
But
of
they invite Piers Ackerman on all the time.
He's
Yeah,
only a
no,
panelist
he's a
on
panel-
Inside.
yeah.
No,
Yeah,
he
that's
got
true.
fired from Insiders. He got fired from Insiders. There are only conservatives left on Insiders. Jared Henderson, Michael Stutchbury, and, well, Nikki Saba's sort
Yeah,
of
Well,
conservative,
look,
but
I
not
mean,
really.
there's this discussion about how many conservatives there are on. It's a distraction.
It-
The
no.
ABC is a leftist news.
No, no,
channel.
okay, no,
They're
no, wait, wait.
leftists. Who
Okay.
cares? Let them. The point is, it should. That's not the point.
Actually,
the point
no,
is,
no.
it should be scrapped.
I don't think it
You-
should.
you seem
well,
to
I
be
agree with
passionate.
Wait, let
Well,
Vickers go. Let
it's-
Vickers go, and
No,
then
no, no.
Tim.
I agree with the scrapping thing, and it's not that it doesn't matter because the thing about the ABC is everybody has to pay for it,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
So, in that sense, I understand where Tim's coming from, and in that sense, I agree with Tim. It should we can't say there's no expectation of impartiality. It is clearly an institution which everybody pays for, right? And therefore, it should be impartial to everyone that's paying for it.
But that's
Yeah.
an
Now,
impossibility.
But yes, I agree with that, right? That and therein lies the problem, right? And the way to
Yes.
immediately solve that problem is essentially, like any other tragedy of the commons problem, put a price on it.
Sure.
Yeah,
But okay, the thing is though,
Privatize,
the
privatize,
ABC has a charter that says it has to be. Like, I mean, yes, I agree, it can't be impartial.
Well, the Soviet Union
can't-
had a wonderful constitution.
I know.
Enshrining human
I know,
rights. And in
but-
the same way, the ABC has a wonderful charter.
But
enshrining
fortunately, under our system, we have some form of accountability. Unlike the Soviet Union,
I don't
you know,
think
like
the
so.
ABC
Just
has
just
any
say,
form of
just to
accountability.
say, just to say that. Well, no one can be impartial. Therefore, just throw up our hands and do nothing about it. I mean, that's nonsense.
I
Like,
agree
it should,
with
we
that.
should,
No, no,
you can't
that's
just
the
like
point.
they have a legislated obligation.
Who cares?
And
Who cares?
I care. Like, I mean,
When was the last time any attempt to change this even worked anyway? And if it
Well,
does
it's
work,
because
isn't
no
that
government's
troubling?
got the-
Isn't it
they've got
troubling
the-
that we
no-
are
no go-
imposing our views on others? I mean, for what? And we're doing the same thing. But we're seeing it as a zero-sum culture war. But we're infringing on those lefty taxpayers who want more lefty views. The reality is the ABC will never be balanced because balance is an impossibility. All we need to do is take the view that the show itself just needs to be privatized. Let those who support it,
Well-
let those who don't. That's it.
So we've drifted a little bit here, but so I wanted to come across this entire issue of the of Q&A in general. Now, my big issue with Q&A, and I've been on it about 10 times, right? I've actually been on the show in the audience.
Or in the audience, you haven't
Yeah.
been a panelist.
I haven't been a panelist. No,
No.
but I have. But you can go back and look through the videos, and I've asked, I think, 5 questions. So I've asked
Oh,
a lot.
really?
Of questions before. Yeah.
You'll have to put those.
I think one of them's on YouTube actually. One where I took on people said I took on John Pilger. In reality, I just pointed out like a logical error in his argument.
we
but
now
anyway-
need a Vickers supercut of Q&A questions.
Absolutely. Go
Yeah,
on
yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
You know what? I should just every episode I should just post a list of questions and just go. If you're in the audience, just keep hitting these.
Yeah,
You'll,
yeah.
have fun. You'll get something. But anyway, so my biggest complaint, and this has been my complaint since about 2010, is that Q&A is, it's not actually a show. It's a pantomime of political discourse, right? It's an approximation to what the ABC thinks political discourse in the country is actually like. Now, if you've ever been on the show, right, you get an email, right? An email spelling out, what the topics of interest they think are to talk to given the host that they have, and you'll find if you compare. And here's the thing, right? I can give you the episode list, and I can give you the questions sheets that they've given, the questions they've given every time, and you will find the questions that are asked are very close to the wording that the ABC has used.
So they're prompting people to ask questions, basically,
They-
is what you're saying.
And there's nothing implicitly wrong with this, right? It is a stage show. So every time, like, I hear them say, like, it's not rehearsed or anything. Yeah, that's true. It's not rehearsed, but it is definitely staged, right? Like, and the thing is, they should
Well,
have
at
known.
any rate, there's a strong degree of suggestion going on there. Go
Precise-
on.
Yeah, there's a strong degree of suggestion going on, and like you can actually do. And I suggested this before when, like, to one of my lefty friends, right? Who was saying like, "Oh, Q&A is not staged," and I said, I can show you at least one episode, all right, and it was one that I went on, right, where the questions, and I pointed this out, showing the questions, right? Look how closely it is to the wording of the suggested question. Only a couple of words here and there were changed. Right, and it's just like that's pretty much if you wanted to get a question asked on Q&A, you take a look at the suggested question thing, right, and you find a way to change a few words here and there, probably personalize it slightly, and you'd get to ask that question, right? So basically, my objection is, like Crossfire, this is an approximation to what what TV channels think political discourse is like. And if you want, we should link this, but there's a video of Jon Stewart on Crossfire, right? And he says, I don't think you understand. This show is harming democracy, right? Because it's portraying everything as this is a particular viewpoint and this is a particular viewpoint, right? And
As binaries.
As binaries, yeah. So in America, it was the context of this is the viewpoint of the left and this is the viewpoint of the right. But that was unique to Crossfire, right? But that's why Crossfire was absolutely shit. But Q&A is shit because it's the ABC's version of what Australian political opinions are like, right? And I think it's even worse than Crossfire, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's usually attacking from the left. Now, there are opinions that on that show are just regarded as flat out, absurd, right? But they're in our political discourse. And on the other side, right? You've got a little bit of apologism for things that, what Middle Australia, that vote, the Howard Battler votes, right? They would regard as being abhorrent. And one of those examples is allowing this Zaky Mallah guy. Now, keep in mind, the ABC, right, in 2011, I think it was? Is it 2011 or 2012, where what was his name? Alan Jones was at this event that the Young Liberals ran.
It was 2012 because
2012.
It was a few weeks before the misogyny speech. So
Yeah,
it was 2012. I remember.
So remember that event?
2012.
Yeah. So I remember it was like a liberal event. He was organized as a speaker, and he said Gillard's dad died of shame. For weeks and weeks and weeks, the ABC ran this entire thing. Why is the Liberals, affiliating with such misogyny and all of that? You have to ask the question, right? Can you now say that the ABC affiliates with terrorists, right? By their logic, right? Just being on the show, giving them a platform, has given.
Well, that's what the Herald Sun and Courier Mail implied with their front pages on Thursday.
And certainly what Tony Abbott has implied with his question, whose side are you on,
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, look, I don't think you need to, like, what Abbott said is really irrelevant. More to the point is that this incident has really sort of the straw that's broken the camel's back in the fact that the ABC is too left-wing and, just promotes of left-wing views all the time.
Yeah.
Well, look, I wouldn't regard it as a victory if suddenly, Janet Albertson and Judith Sloan or whoever it is that they had back in the Howard era.
Janet Albertson on the board.
Yeah, if she suddenly got appointed, I mean, it did nothing then. I don't think it'll do anything now.
It didn't do anything because the program directors don't actually hold that much power in the ABC, and all it really did was just provide a lot of flack for the basically lefties to say, they're trying to take over the independent media. So
no, they always say, hands off our ABC.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I mean, one of the things that scares me a bit is this idea that we should have a government inquiry into what journalists are doing, which is what Tony Abbott is announcing. And
yeah.
I mean,
So
I personally don't care about the inquiries because the ABC as a publicly funded institution shouldn't exist. So
That's my point.
any
But it's still
Actually,
not a
yeah,
notion that I like.
you raised a good point there, and think about the hypocrisy coming here from like Abbott, because do you remember the hullabaloo we sort of kicked up over Finkelstein, right?
no, but
This is my point. This is an inquiry into a media organisation by the government, and here
it's an organisation that's owned by the government.
it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it also has
doesn't matter.
It does. Well, it also. I mean, okay. Let's be completely serious. The ABC is going to be privatized about the same day that we abolish the minimum wage. It's never going to happen. Like we can do all how stupid it is. The ABC is like this, and we should just privatize it. It's not going to be privatized. So until like it has got a charter, I don't think it's actually unreasonable for the government to say, is the ABC abiding by their charter? I mean, we got to live in the real world. Like all of us would.
Zeev, you
Yes,
seem
but-
to,
but
yeah,
it's not
Zeev,
gonna
you seem to be
happen.
saying, Zeev, you seem to be saying that the ABC's are always going to be left wings, so I'll, just accept it.
Yeah, but it's not.
More or
It's
less.
usually it's
As I am now.
it's
Well,
not
so Tony Abbott's
that as
wrong.
If the ABC changes in some way of its own accord, we should let that happen. The ABC should be as unaccountable as possible to the government.
no.
It's kind
No.
of my viewpoint.
Well, no, Okay, so if you were to say, okay, we're gonna have this government-funded
Why? Actually, you
organisation.
might have a point. Because if it's really, really unaccountable to the government, that actually galvanizes the position to privatize it, if you think about it. Because what that does is effectively, right, if you're saying the government has no control over it, right, absolutely none whatsoever, if it strains too far to the left, right, and it becomes an actual political issue where, like, conservatives just drop the station completely, right now there's a small percentage of conservatives that still buy into this idea that you need a national broadcaster, and that's why it stays in place. If it becomes a political issue, and if you lose that middle ground, right, Zeev's point might actually push the ABC privatization as an issue publicly. Like,
No.
people will, like, we have no government control over this, and it's basically a talking point for a political party.
Hell will actually
I don't-
freeze
I don't
over
know- I don't know
before
what-
the
I don't-
ABC is privatized.
The
Like,
thing is,
WA will secede from Australia before ABC is private. Like, it's
guys said it
never
before.
going to
Just didn't
happen.
allow you.
Yeah, well, that will happen again before the ABC is privatized, and I'm telling you, it's not going to happen quick. Like, the ABC is never going to be privatized. Like, it is.
Yeah, so
It
which
is-
is why
I
which
see
is-
that as achievable, actually. ABC
Which
privatization.
is which is why in the meantime trying to make sure that it is balanced is a good idea.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is,
it's
what I'm saying is, right, if your objective is to push for privatization, right, the only instances in which privatization becomes like a public policy issue where people are like, ooh, I'm okay with privatization all of a sudden. The big cases for that have
It's
been
when they go completely off their rocker.
bingo. It's when they go completely off their rocker, and that happened with Telstra with the absurd land, was it the landline rental fees, right? I think they went up something like 40% in 1 year, and all of a sudden, like, the government was just like, yeah, look, they've got no cost controls or anything. We don't actually run them. They're a government business enterprise. We have very little control. We might as well sell it. Right?
Yeah, but I mean that's totally different because there's an actual cost going into the pockets of people, and that brings their attention. No one gives a crap. No one apart from us libertarians give a crap about privatizing the ABC.
No. But pretend for a second that the ABC had more autonomy. Right now, right, they've got this entire magical charter that's allegedly, going to make them more, what was the term they used? Impartial?
Yeah.
impartial.
Impartial, yeah.
report.
Yeah. So let's now pretend, right, the Minister of Communications no longer in charge of, things.
The Minister of Communications isn't in charge of it anyway. The ABC
Right,
is free to do whatever they want. They have always
Exactly.
been doing whatever they want. Like to say, like the things
Well,
are
we can
relevant
still
now
put
anyway.
people into the
It can't be any more left wing than it. Like it literally have to become like the communist, like mouthpiece to become more left wing than they actually are. Like it's as left wing as it can ever possibly be.
Give it about 6 months of no ministerial supervision or questioning whatsoever, right?
What does that make any difference now anyway?
Oh, they can get much more left wing. Trust me.
I don't think so.
The point is, even if
Well,
these
it'll-
inquiries are pushing the ABC to be more balanced, I don't know if that's right.
It's right because it's a government body.
It's supposed
Yeah.
to.
If
It's supposed to be acting on the
it's
behalf of
supposed to be
everybody.
impartial.
supposed to be?
So-
But who is
supposed to
everyone?
be, of course.
Who is everyone?
So
Who
you're
are they
so
going
if you're
to
saying
adhere
it's
to?
wrong. So if you seem to be saying that it's wrong for the government to make it more balanced.
I mean, it's like, you know, it's essentially what it is a $1 billion gift to lefties to do whatever they want with. Like, and
I suppose
I mean-
you guys have
I
a
mean-
point as
yeah,
well.
like it's
Watch last week's Q&A in full and see if you're the same afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean,
I-
I got to
Yeah.
I got
I'm playing the devil's
I got
advocate.
to about
here,
7 minutes
but,
in,
and
and
I
it
don't
was just
if I've done a good job.
and
Well,
to be
Playing
fair,
devil's advocate and a mix of also, you know, half
my,
agreeing.
I'm just catering to my inner, anarchist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
it doesn't.
I
I'm sorry, go.
legitimately think that's a good enough. I legitimately think that that's probably the best avenue towards steering the discussion towards, ABC privatization is to just show. How biased they are.
just
I
the
think it's
just the
most people don't
doomsday
care
option.
about the ABC. I mean, who really cares about anything that the government does, including the ABC, for that matter these days? Most
Because we
people
give it
just care
1.2
about living
billion
their
a
own
year.
life. No, ordinary people, they just live their own lives and go about their business. Nobody really thinks to themselves, "Gee, I really need the ABC today.
No.
I couldn't live without it." It's just.
Well, actually,
I mean,
no. The
it's-
thing is, there's a whole lot. It's essentially. I mean, really, this is classic public choice. There are people who think, yes, I need the ABC. Like, my life would be incomplete without, 7:30 report or whatever. And
suppose
you know,
so.
those people provide the support base.
I
Everybody
feel
else is just
so
watching.
sad for those people.
I agree. I mean, having said that, I listen to Triple J because it's the only decent. We only have 2 FM stations down here, and the other one is the worst commercial station you've ever heard in your life. So, to be completely open, I
probably
listen to Triple
enjoy
J. But there's a hardcore base of people who love the ABC. There's a bigger base of people who like the notion of the ABC. So they don't necessarily watch it, but they like the idea that there's someone out there. And it's just it's the theoretical. They're looking after the common person, or they're looking after the non-commercial interests. It's the same thing when people say, "Well, we need the government to stop money corporations, evil corporations with their love of money." And it's like, well, that's nonsense. The government loves money. People in the government love money plenty.
And also, if you really want to take a look at it, the government has more money than the largest corporations in Australia.
Well, that's it. So you've got
And
people
the
who actually
ABC
watch it.
certainly has more money than any commercial station in Australia.
Yeah.
I think.
So there's people.
They have more staff. Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
have more
More
money.
staff.
So, yeah.
Like there was with the Zaky Mallah, there was about 5 or 6 staff members who coordinated his question.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, how difficult is it to get somebody to ask a question in the audience? Don't you need one person?
Yeah. So essentially, you've got actual people who watch it. You've got all the journos who are employed by the ABC. You've got then a large group of people who like the notion of the ABC, and then everybody else is watching My Kitchen Rules or MasterChef or whatever else, and they don't give a crap at all because they're busy living their lives. So it's just a straight up public choice problem. Like that's why the ABC. I don't think the ABC will ever be privatized, even though I'd love it to be. And I've got I'm sure if we had more time, we could talk about ideas of how to actually do that, like actual. How you could
I say
physically
we just
do
take
it,
some
but
pitchforks and some torches
Yeah.
and storm the building.
sure.
No, yeah, ransack all of the.
I think I've made my feelings on this clear. Let anarchy reign. So.
Or maybe when you're
Mine
down
is
in Bunbury,
either-
Vicus, we can go to ABC Bunbury and just tear down their satellite and just
It'll be
leave
just like the Reign of Terror, except for the ABC.
I know what
Yeah.
we can do. We can replace the A on the ABC with the anarchist symbol.
Yes, we should do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So instead of the, what do you call their stupid logo? It's
The wavy.
the
Oh,
Yeah.
dear.
The thing that's supposed to be what's it meant to be? It's meant to be some sort of signal.
I think we should unleash a Latham-esque reign of terror on the ABC.
Yeah, make Mark Latham the managing director of the ABC and see how long it lasts. That'd be
Yes.
funny.
Well, at least on one front, there'll be constant rage against, third wave feminists because that seems to be his favorite topic of choice these days.
Yeah.
Well, they want his
I
columns.
just want to bring back this little column by Latham. For a limited 12-month term, I'm prepared to chair the ABC and do the things the current chairman didn't do. My strategy will be to slice and dice, selling off the component parts of the organisation, starting with the bookshops, then the arty-farty stuff, before moving on to its radio and television assets. Australia's last remaining mausoleum of socialist demagoguery will be dismantled.
I fucking love it. I love it. And with that, I kind of want to finish the episode just because it's such a good point to stop. So yes, it's been a great episode 15. We did have other topics in mind, but yeah, I think
don't forget to watch Q&A after this.
Oh. Kill myself.
Also, I just wanted to add, I am going to be at Students for Liberty, which is happening in Melbourne on between the 3rd and the 5th. I believe Zeev is also going to be there, and Tim.
Maybe for the drinks.
I'll be there.
I don't know about the whole thing, but maybe for the drinks.
So Taking Liberties will be doing a live recording at that show on Friday. On Saturday, I believe, at 2:15, I think it was. So we'll be coordinating that, and stay tuned for more details. And you should be able to see that episode. And I haven't quite chosen the topic for it yet, but I guarantee you it's going to be a surprise.
Cool.
Cool.
All right,
Awesome.
that's it. See ya.
Okay, cool. See yous.
See ya.